But other times we also get involved in working together with clients and potential clients on, first of all, understanding the business context and diagnosing what's going on. Because there will be cases where maybe we're not the answer, or maybe we're not the main priority, right? And it's about understanding the business process, the process flows, but also what are the desired outcomes. Like have a conversation about what does good look like. Sometimes a client might instinctively feel like something is broken in a part or the other of the business, but it's not until we sit down maybe with the functional team and that side of the business to understand a bit more about what's happened so far, what's been done to address the perceived problem, what's worked, what hasn't worked.
Diagnosis.
A lot of it goes down. Exactly. It's a bit like a doctor's work, but applied to business processes.
Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of Unboxed, the podcast where we unravel the heart and soul of branding, marketing, and technology. I have with me today Alex Paval. He is the managing director of Pagero for the Middle East, Africa, and Asia, with a rich background in B2B software and services. Alex is a trailblazer in digital transformation and automation. He's also an advisor for startups. Let's explore his insights on digitizing the economy, the impact of what he is doing on sustainability, and his role in nurturing startup culture in the Middle East. Thank you, Alex, for being with us today, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, AJ. A pleasure to be here. Very nice to join you on your season 2 episode series. Very exciting. Very interesting to be discussing all these topics together with you. And thank you for the kind introduction.
Can you tell us, for our audience sake, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background? I know you're coming from a very corporate background, and you have a lot of expertise in digital transformation and automation. So can you just give us a quick intro from your side?
Of course. Happy to, AJ. Yeah. So I've spent most of my career in tech, as you kindly mentioned. I've also lived and worked different places, right? So working back from Dubai, where we find ourselves today, I've also lived in Bahrain, I've lived in London, I've lived in Paris, and I'm originally from Eastern Europe, from Romania. Yes. So I've had quite the journey. Okay. Tech has been a big part of that story, because tech is very international, and it's enabled me to have an international career as well.
Yes.
Like you said, a lot with large companies, but many of the things that I've done with large companies have been about new markets, new products in new markets, and so on. And it's been very rewarding. I'm very much looking forward to discussing this more in detail with you.
Great. You're an expert in automation. Pagero specifically deals with e-invoicing systems and digital transformation. Can you explain what is the most important trends in automation today, especially when we look at the markets that you're in right now, the Middle East, especially the UAE and the broader Middle East? What are the current trends that's happening, especially with, because when you look around us, everything is evolving very quickly. Things are changing rapidly. Technology is evolving, at a very significant pace. So what are the current trends when we talk about automation and digital transformation?
Sure, AJ. That's a big topic. There's a lot that can be said on it. I would say first I'd maybe look at it from two different angles. There's automation that's driven by the industry, right, and various industry players in the private sector. And then there's government-driven automation that is done through various forms of regulation as well. So as you kindly mentioned, Pagero is in the e-invoicing and business document automation space. So whenever we have regulations coming in with regard to e-invoicing, we support businesses with automating the process for generating, exchanging, and distributing compliant invoices. But that's a very discrete type of automation, right? It's a very specific, industry-specific one. And automation is very broad. As a topic. So if you look at it from, again, sticking onto the regulatory-driven side of things from the authorities. E-invoicing regulations, which are going to come to the UAE as well in the coming years, they're part of a bigger plan, right? You look at the very forward-looking and innovative programs that exist here in the UAE, such as the Digital Government Initiative. I think that's 2025, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And then UAE 2031, the Forward Economy Pillar.
Yes.
It's all interconnected into a much bigger story where various industry actors such as ourselves, we have our part to play in that bigger story. That's how I see it. But that's not all it is, right? You have a lot of automation that is driven by the industry itself in search of efficiencies, in search of better processes. And we've all seen the announcements of all of these recent developments, right? You see the very fancy topics around AI and machine learning, but we've had great progress in the industry around robotics, around back-end automation, not just the front-end, visual part of automation, but back-end automation as well. So this is a flourishing industry where things that are were maybe conceptual, 20 or 30 years ago,
back,
now suddenly
reality.
Exactly, it's a reality. The industry has the underbelly, the plumbing, right, to make this a reality, which is really exciting.
True. I know that the UAE government has a lot of is pushing hard to in this front. And during our previous discussion, I think you also mentioned similar tone for the Saudis are also adopting this. They have a mandate to adopt this Saudi Vision 2030 and so on. So when you look at these two markets, like how's the adoption rate? What are the challenges that you're facing, like you being in the market, you having a product or service? Is there probably I'm not just talking about government mandate, but when you approach SMEs or private companies, is there a sense of fear that or resistance to change when it comes to adopting these kind of new technologies, or is it smooth sailing? How do you put it?
It's a very fair question. I think look, first to comment from the regulatory angle, the vision and ambition that exists, I think definitely here in the UAE, in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia as well, where for example e-invoicing regulation started in December 2021, and is still in its rollout process. I think the vision and ambition are there. We have to be, I think, taking a step back, looking at the fact that there wasn't much regulation in this space around e-invoicing and VAT. If we go back 5 years ago, there wasn't much. And in a very short space of time, a lot has happened.
Yes, exactly.
And a lot of achievements have come through as well. Now, with that, to your point on the individual companies side of things, some big, some small, of course, there's an adjustment process. I think the intent is there to become compliant. The intent is there not just to do the bare minimum for compliance, but to constantly use the regulatory changes as well as a basis to improve business processes. But it takes time, right? I think given the short amount of time in which all of these regulations have come in, the average business here in the Gulf does need support from specialized service providers, either through technology and professional services as well, to fill in the requirements quicker and to build out the capability a lot quicker than they would do on their own, just trying to solve all of this at once.
Exactly. How does all this tie up with the sustainability aspect of things? Because when we think about sustainability, I often have this discussion with most of my guests. It's something that people want to be it's a buzzword. People want to be part of it. People just want to use it left, right, and center. But I think an initiative like this, moving to automation and digital transformation, essentially has quite an impact on sustainability. How do you see that? From a sustainability point of view?
Of course. I think it's a very big topic, and sustainability, of course, has many layers. And I'm not for a second claiming that we're at the epicenter
Yes.
Of sustainability, but we do our part, and I'll mention in a second how. But I think if you look at the broader scheme of things, things like the circular economy and other aspects of sustainability are very much the priority. But in the business world where we operate, we do touch on a couple of sustainability factors, and we're very much committed to sustainability. In fact, we actually have sustainability metrics in our annual report.
Okay.
Pagero being a Swedish company,
Yes.
we're naturally inclined to be very environmentally friendly, and we generally care about what our business impact is, and that can be quantified, for example, in areas such as paper savings, because when you go digital for things like invoices, purchase orders, sales orders, these quantities of paper, they add up between
Yes.
all the volumes
Yes.
traded between so many different companies. Like, to give you an idea, on Pagero globally, there are about 12 million businesses that
Wow.
are sending and or receiving business documents through the
Wow,
platform.
that's a
right?
big number.
That's
yeah.
a lot. So
Yeah.
even if they had one invoice each, and I can
Yeah.
guarantee you they have a lot more than that
Yeah.
per company,
Yeah.
it does add up. So there's a metric in the platform that shows number of trees saved
Oh, okay.
based on invoices that are digital instead of being on paper.
Okay.
But also we have metrics around CO2 savings based on again, efficiencies that are derived from the automation process. So again, it's with a lot of humility here, it's a small part of the sustainability picture, but every little bit helps.
True. Now, in your as a leader of Pagero, one of the digital transformation automation companies out there, how does it work? Do they ask you for a solution? Do they come to you for a solution, or do they come to you with a problem, or they come to you with asking for your services or solution, and then you identify the problem, and then you develop a solution for them? How does it work?
I think it's a combination of all of the above. I think life would be easy if everything was laid out and we just need your specific solution, sir.
True,
when can we
true,
start working
true,
together?
true.
But the reality is, I'll make a side point in relation to this question. But if you look at the world of tech, and if you look at established categories of different types of software, like
Yes.
ERP,
Yes.
CRM, warehouse management, supply chain, etc., and look back over the last 10, 15 years, the number of options that you have for different solutions per category has increased tremendously.
Tremendously, yeah.
So if you're running a business and you have needs for different departments, finance, manufacturing, distribution, to even start to make sense of what's out there and what
Exactly.
could address your problem, that is an undertaking of itself.
True.
It's a lot.
I mean, just imagine a small-time company looking for an HR solution, right?
Yeah.
You just go to Google and which is the best HR application. You'll get 100 different results, and then you have to sift through them, and then like you mentioned, yeah.
Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah.
It's very true. So in our case, we do have situations where in markets like we talked about in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, with regulations coming in, and Pagero being widely recognized globally as a leader in this space, it was more a topic around, okay, how do we solve the problem for our company using the technology? So the problem was a bit more framed. But other times we also get involved in working together with clients and potential clients on, first of all, understanding the business context and diagnosing what's going on. Because there will be cases where maybe we're not the answer, or maybe we're not the main priority, right? And it's about understanding the business process, the process flows, but also what are the desired outcomes. Like, have a
yeah.
conversation about what does good look like. Sometimes a client might instinctively feel like something is broken in a part or the other of the business. But it's not until we sit down maybe with the functional team and that side of the business to understand a bit more about what's happened so far, what's been done to address the perceived problem, what's worked, what hasn't worked.
Diagnosis, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of it goes down. Exactly. It's a bit like a doctor's work, but applied to business processes rather than the actual medicine. Yeah.
Alex, I know that you have a lot on your hands. Like in the, you're running this, you're leading this company, and on the side you're doing, business advisory for startups. How do you manage everything? What is your, what do you call that? What is your framework of getting things done? What drives you? What motivates you? How do you, how do you keep up with all this?
It can sometimes be quite a lot. I'm not going to lie, right? That sometimes the days do run long. But I personally put a lot of passion into my work, and I've been in tech for a long time, and I've had a very exciting journey, and I enjoy. I don't just look at it as purely from this is a business that I'm responsible for, and this is a job that I'm responsible for. But it's more also about the fact that I've got a natural curiosity about some of these developments. So even in my free time, I'm reading about different new trends in tech and how these are working out, what have been used for. So I of course I have to structure my time as well, try to block time for key activities. So not just meetings, right? Because your calendar, sometimes if you let it unchecked, your calendar can start running your life. And I want to keep a handle on it. And of course there's time for meetings and discussions, but I also set time aside for key things that I have to accomplish so that I get those done, ideally in the first part of the day, and then be a bit more flexible towards the second part of the day.
It's quite interesting because your answer is exactly the same as the answer that I've received from some of the other people when I, very busy people, very active, very leaders in their, area. And I ask them the same question, and they always come back and say, passion is what, of course, I mean, I understand that. And it is really, it makes sense. You first need to be passionate about something to actually get up every day and do the things that you're doing, right? That this is what drives you. And of course, that leads you to your purpose, where you're going and what you want to do. When we work with brands, when we design brands and when we develop brands, the first thing that we try to articulate is the purpose, the impact that you really want to create as a brand. And this is the starting point. And then everything else follows, your vision and your core values and how you want to be positioned in the market and so on. So,
absolutely. And I'll add another point as well. This is just a personal preference, but I've noticed that I do certain activities better at a different point in the day. Like, for example, some things like, emails and prepping on this or that can be happening anytime. It's probably better to do it in the morning. But when it comes to, for example, writing something like a new piece of content or a new concept around a value proposition, I tend to do that better at night for some reason. Okay. Right, so it's like more of a night owl syndrome or something. I don't know what that is, but I tend to focus better creatively.
Yes.
In the second part of the day.
I think it differs from person to person because some of the people I've spoken to, like yours is different, but I'm a very laid back person. I lose focus very fast. So, my mind is all over the place. So when I start one thing and then something else pops up and then I have to finish that and then third thing comes in and there's a total lack of focus. But some of the other people I've spoken to, they're very spontaneous and so on. So I think it depends on person person to person, but it's quite interesting, that you break your day into different parts and then you focus on different things, which, depending on your energy levels and your focus and stuff like that, really makes sense. I think, Alex, we have a lot more questions, but I think I'll leave it for now. Thank you for being part of the show. And whatever you shared with us is quite insightful, especially we've not had someone who's specialized in automation and digital transformation in the show. You're the first one. So all the insights is going to be pretty, effective and add value to our listeners. So thank you, Alex, for being.
Thank you so much, AJ. I really appreciate the invitation. Yeah. It's been a pleasure to be here with you today. I'm very happy to be part of the show. I would like to also say hello to the audience and hope that they found this session insightful. And if you get any feedback, any thoughts based on our discussions.
If someone wants to get in touch with you, how do they get in touch with you? LinkedIn or?
LinkedIn is perfect.
All right. So we'll share the LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And thank you, guys. That's it for today's episode. Catch you in the next one. Goodbye.